Welcome to the Two Disabled Dudes podcast. We believe life is about how we react. I'm Kyle Bryant. And I'm Sean Bombsark. Together, we are constantly seeking opportunities to live beyond our circumstances. All right, welcome back to the Two Disabled Dudes podcast. Thanks for tuning in today. My name is Sean, and Kyle is here as well. What up, man? How's it going?
What's up? How's it going? Well, that was really loud. Sorry.
Yeah, it's all right. It's going great. Hey, we're excited. Episode number 61 today. And for those of you who haven't noticed, we're doing this every week now, so buckle up. We've got another Target 30-minute episode for you right now.
Booyah.
So,
Let's
Kyle, to kick us off, I haven't heard this story yet, but you did tell me that something happened this morning. So tell me and everybody at the same time what you're talking about.
So I went out with a friend yesterday and I met the author of my favorite book, which was really rad, and we went to this dance performance. Was really great in Philadelphia. Anyway, so she drops me off back home, and I get up this morning, and I'm like, oh, all right, I really need to clean up my apartment. Actually, I've been doing pretty good lately, but anyway, I had to take the recycling out. So, and it's freezing cold outside. So I get it all in my lap, and I'm going out the door, and I'm like, all right, I don't want to leave this door open because it will get really cold in my apartment. So I shut the door behind me.
Oh,
I take my recycling, come back. The door is freaking locked. And I'm like, oh, no worries. I got my keys right here in this breast pocket of my jacket. Nope, keys aren't there. No phone. No wallet. No nothing. And so I'm like, oh, I can just drive to the apartment because it's I don't know, maybe 3/4 of a mile away. It's not impossible, but it's annoying. And so I'm like, oh, maybe I can drive there. Nope, no keys. I can't even get in my car. Huh. So I'm like, oh, crap, what am I going to do? So I go over to my friend's place. He lives in the same same apartment complex. I go over there. Both of their cars are in the parking spot, so I go up to the door and knock on it. I hear the dog barking. I'm like, oh, cool. Okay, cool. They're going to come to the door any second. Nope, no one comes. I knock again. Nobody comes. And then all of a sudden I hear this, hey, Kyle, it's Paul. I'm like, what? What's going on? And I look up in the corner, and it's a freaking Nest camera.
Camera thing. Oh, wow.
Yeah, all right. And he can talk through it.
Yeah.
Holy cow. And they were at breakfast, not too far away. But it was insane because I was like, it's like, hey, what's going on? I'm talking to a little camera up in the corner of this doorway.
Nice.
Yeah. So anyway, Paul comes and they graciously ended breakfast early. They had just ordered when he noticed that I was at his doorstep. They ended it early. They got it to go, and he brought me because he has my spare key. So
that's
quite
a friend right there to totally change their breakfast plans and come home.
Yeah,
look at
he's
you,
like,
Paul.
oh, no worries, I'll be there in 10 minutes. I'm like, what? Yeah, so it was really, really nice.
I would have made you wait. I'm like, hey, I just ordered breakfast. I'm going to enjoy it. I'll be home in 30.
I'm going to enjoy my coffee here. Yeah, no, but the thing is, I wasn't the one last night who physically turned the lock. So I wasn't even thinking when I closed the door. I wasn't even thinking that it was locked. So I really do have to take responsibility for this, though.
Well, of course you do, because here I am thinking, are you giving me an excuse for not paying attention to your front door? Like, are you trying to blame your other friend?
Yeah, so I need to. I hit a key outside. No one knows where it is. You never heard that actually. So
yes. Where outside?
You
know what's sad is
to know.
You this is now I think the second time that you've been like. What's sad is you've gotten to a point in your life where you have to have a key outside.
That's true. Maybe I need to reassess my life and figure out if it's really worth it. Just kidding.
That might be a good idea.
Get some things straight in my life, yeah.
Well, speaking of getting things straight, no, sorry. Did you have more to that story?
No, that's it.
I was going to say,
funny.
Just speaking of that idea of getting things right in your life, we thought it might be kind of cool. Just real quick, a brief check-in. A couple episodes ago, we talked about some goals. I don't remember all of them right off the top of my head. But, Kyle, where are you at with some of yours? I noticed on, I think, Twitter or Instagram, you're working out quite a bit, or it seems you are.
Yeah, I'm not sure that I did talk about that because I said I wanted to ride 1,500 miles. And so my working out lately is totally focused on being ready for cycling season because it's way too cold outside right now.
Sure.
But I want to prepare myself, right, and get my legs strong, my lungs in shape and stuff. So I bought a rowing machine not too long ago, and I've been rowing 5,000 meters every morning before work. Like, I get up a little bit earlier, and it's been amazing. It's been, like, I felt like such a lazy slob. And then I started working out, and it totally translated into other areas. Like, my apartment is more clean now. And, like, I'm, like, to work on time more and stuff, you know? And,
like, Jen loves that.
Yeah, exactly. So it really translated into a lot of other things because I think it was, like, my self-respect really went way up. When you're like, oh, I'm so lazy, I'm not doing anything, I think that really affects, right, how you see yourself.
Sure.
And when you are like, oh, sweet, I just worked out already this morning, I think it just changes your perspective on everything, you know?
Sure. Yeah, I can see that. Some of the specific goals, I remember one being, of course, for you, I want to say 10,000 books or something like that. Obviously, we're not quite there yet. Although pre-orders, I would assume you've gotten at least 5 of those.
Yeah, 4 or 5.
So we're off to a start at least.
Yeah, and I found out the other day that it will be available on audio too, which is pretty cool. So, I saw a tweet from a voiceover artist, and he's like, "You're working on Kyle Bryant's book." I'm like, "Oh, that's rad."
That's cool.
Yeah, so that's moving along. Sean, I want to hear about any progress that you made already on any of your goals.
Yeah, I've got one book read. I just finished it yesterday.
Wow, nice.
I feel like I'm a couple days behind, maybe even a week, because to get 20 done in the year, that's like 1.5 a week. 1.5 a month. So I feel a couple days behind, but I also feel kind of right on track at the same time. So got one book done, and then one of the ones I mentioned was bike riding, and I've only gone out once. So I've got 20 miles down into my 1,200 mile year.
Nice.
Part of that is weather. Part of that is in the middle of moving right now. So my days off are consumed with packing and getting that stuff lined up. So
Yeah, when are you gonna have that full move done?
next week.
Oh, sweet. And by the way, you're ahead of me in your cycling goal because I haven't ridden a single mile in 2019 yet.
All right.
And I've got so many excuses. It's not even funny.
Hashtag I'm winning. Well, that's really
So-
kind of. Oh, go ahead.
Well, no, I think that is. I feel like you were about to transition to the actual topic today because I think that is what this is all about. It's about no excuses, and it focuses on the the Nike Just Do It campaign, right? That's kind of where the idea comes from, but it's the idea, the thought that really. We just need to get out there and go. Quit thinking about it and just do something, right?
Exactly. I think a lot of times, even for you and I in podcast planning or whatever it is we're working on together, a lot of times, we convince ourselves that we've got to work out a perfect plan or we've got to work out a well-articulated thought process. And the reality of it is those things tend to slow us down or cause us to get behind as opposed to just freaking get in and do it or, just lace up and go or whatever the phrase may be. So
Right.
I recently stole that slogan and talked about it on a blog. Nike celebrated 30 years with those 3 words last year, and so that inspired a thought process for me. So to me, just do it. It represents the idea that, man, you may not ever figure stuff out. Just start doing it and figure it out as you go is really the idea behind that for me.
Yeah, I agree. I was talking about, starting to work out in 2019 a lot and feeling like just a lazy slob. And it was, seriously, I would just sit around in my apartment. And then I realized I'm like, you know what? I could be working out right now. I could do some push-ups or sit-ups or I could do anything to do more than I'm doing right now. And it was totally the idea of just do it, just start moving, get something done. That kind of, got me off of, off my butt, really, and moving. So, yeah,
there's a lot to be said when you're making any kind of progress.
Right.
It doesn't have to be the perfect progress. It doesn't have to be the weights that you want to lift or the marathon mileage you want to run. It's one step at a time, one little weight plate at a time. It's little steps that help you feel good, and ultimately, it kind of reinforces your end goal. So, of course, it's easier to get a little more excited and a little more disciplined and a little more consistent in the habits that you're trying to build. I personally can't stand it. Even though I do it sometimes, a lot of times we put a job off because we just don't have time to start and finish it. And I know sometimes that makes sense. But other times it's like, man, just start it and figure it out as you go or finish it as time permits. But when we wait till we get more time, I think we set ourselves up for failure.
So, Sean, something that I was thinking of earlier, and I don't want to totally go off on a tangent, but I think this, hopefully it's something good to think about, is like, how does that affect quality? You know what I mean? Like when you just do something just to get it done, and just to get up. And I'm not arguing that that's not the right thing to do or something. I don't know. I think that was a double negative.
No, it's okay.
You know what I mean, though?
I think I get where you're asking. And, of course, the quality of whatever you produce could be and might be different, but I don't know. I guess in my head, I'm thinking an ugly piece of art is still better than no piece of art.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
at least in that respect, if you start something and you get to the end and you're not quite satisfied with the quality, well, hopefully you've learned a thing or two in the process and you can start over and redo the stuff that you maybe weren't satisfied with on the last round. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. And I think that's a perfect response. Yeah. So, in that respect, like, you could get, to the next, week and not have anything done, or you can get to the next week and have something done that is not quite to your standards, but you learned a ton and you'll do it again. You're still at zero.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
you have a lot. Yeah, you have like one try done or whatever.
I think I may have mentioned this in the podcast one or two times ago, or episode 2. But I read it in a book, and I completely forget what book, and I forget what author and who was quoted. But essentially, he said something to the effect that if everybody waited for the perfect service or the perfect product or the perfect whatever, we'd have nothing. I mean, just look at the iPhone. When it came out, it was the coolest thing. What is that, 11, 12 years ago? 12 years ago. And look where we're at now. We've upgraded every year. We've gotten a little better. But had they not just gone with the first protocol maybe, or maybe in that case it was that 10th protocol, you learn as you go. Chrome was built to be the best internet browser ever, and I just heard some stats on it yesterday. The guy that started it, his goal was to get 30 million users in the first 12 months, and he got like 11. Well, he didn't give up. He made some changes to make it a little better, and the next year he got more and more and more, and before you know, I think it only took 3 years before Chrome was recognized as the world's best browser.
Yeah, well, and you know what? I think that's how all, like, advancements and, like, innovation works, right? You start somewhere, and then you build on that. That's just the process. And so the key is starting somewhere, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So.
Just start. Look at the podcast, for example. For those of you who have been with us since day one, hopefully you can attest that we've gotten a little bit better, or at least we sound better.
Yeah. The audio quality is a little bit better.
Hey, there were 2 books we wanted to mention. When we were just briefly talking about this idea, you talked about reading David Goggins' new book. What are some liners or principles that have stuck out to you about that, or from that book?
Well, so I'm just getting into the book. However, I have been listening to him on podcasts lately. Like, he's been a guest on a bunch of different podcasts, including the one I listened to last night was the Joe Rogan podcast. One I listened to was the Ritual podcast. Anyway, his main thing, I feel like, is like, he was talking to Ritual about people who want to start marathons or who want to start training for a marathon. They're like, all right, what shorts should I get? And like, what watch do I need? And how do I start my training and all this stuff? And Goggins is like, and by the way, David Goggins is like one of the most accomplished endurance athletes in the world after having been a Navy SEAL. And so we've talked about him a few times. Anyway, what Goggins says, he's like, screw all that. Just lace up your sneakers and start running 1 foot in front of the other. That's all you need to do. And it makes so much sense, I think, especially in this thought of just do it, just get it done, and then go from there, see where it takes you.
That's a good point. Just, I have a good friend, and I don't know if he made it up himself or stole it from someone else, but he's constantly saying, just start heading down the runway and build a plane as you go. Like, again, don't wait for a perfect plan. Just figure it out as you go.
Yeah.
And the book, the David Goggins book that you mentioned is Can't Hurt Me, right?
Right.
That's his newest book. He's also the subject in Living with the Seal. So you may have heard of him through one of those books. Anyway, one book that I've actually yet to read, but it's kind of all the, not craze, but it's a pretty big topic in my day job right now, is actually by Mel Robbins, and she has kind of crafted this idea of the 5-second rule. And when it comes to food, if something falls on the ground, people jokingly say, "Oh, you got 5 seconds, hurry, it's still safe," right?
Yeah, mine's like 2 minutes. I think, so.
Yeah. Well, there's really no scientific support of that idea.
Right.
But she's kind of spent some time developing support of the 5-second rule when it comes to our mentality. And that is basically, if you don't, when a thought comes into your mind and it's something that you should do, the faster you act on that thought, the more productive you're going to be, and the more efficient and the more determined and the more rewarding life is going to be for you. If you, take your alarm, for instance, if the alarm goes off and you hit snooze and you kind of talk yourself into staying in bed, of course you eliminate maybe some free time in the morning. You eliminate the ability to have a healthy breakfast or even have breakfast at all. You eliminate, you kind of are jeopardizing good things. So her whole mantra is, don't waste time talking yourself out of a good idea. Just get after it and kind of formulate as you go. If something needs adjustment, adjust as you go. And like you said, if it's not perfect, then fix it, tweak it, kind of maybe start over. But the more we just let time fall to the wayside, the more we actually talk ourselves out of doing what's important to us. And that's Mel Robbins. And actually, I don't know if it's I don't know if it's a book or just a speech that she's given. But Mel Robbins is her name, and she's accredited with the 5-second rule.
So I know that, I don't know, maybe she addresses this, but how does that relate to like all the big goals that you write down? And, a thought comes into your head and all of a sudden you're distracted from the thing that you really, are committed to. You know what I mean? And, so how does that relate to, multitasking and getting distracted and stuff?
That's a good question. I don't know that I have a good answer, but I think the downfall of multitasking is people pride themselves on the idea of multitasking, but all the stuff they're tasking is crap. So you can go back to your quality question. Is there, if you're doing something important to you, say reading a book, and you get an idea, I think immediately you've got to weigh out, is the idea that just came in your mind something that needs your attention right now? Or is it something that you need to, like Celeste Headley says, let the idea come in and let the idea go out? We're going to have ideas a million times a day. Are they all worth our attention? Probably not.
Yeah, so maybe the important thing is quickly determining whether it's worth acting on or not, right?
Yeah, and I imagine there's so much more behind that thought process that's just scratching the surface.
Right, yeah. Good stuff.
So all that to say, just do it.
Yeah, get things done, and like you said, I love the way you laid it out there, is that, if you get to the end of whatever it is and it's not as good as you think, you can either start over or go a different direction. You're still farther than you were without doing anything, right?
That's true. And I like the idea that you learn as you go, too. Even though maybe you went too far in the wrong direction, hopefully that taught you a thing or two, and you know how to redirect or take a different path or go a different route, or you've learned, oh, that's not worth my time, so you scrap the idea. And any of those are completely acceptable, I think.
Right. Yeah. Sean, one thing we talked about the other day on the phone was that, we want to continue to relate whatever topic we talk about on the show. We want to relate it back to overcoming circumstances. And this one, it's really not hard to figure out how that relates, right? You're in this circumstance and you're like, oh no, how am I getting it out? Well, you know what? Just start doing something and figure it out as you go. And so I think that's really key to any circumstance, right? Is we got to take action.
Yep, for sure. And I think that's a good reminder to end on, especially going into February. A lot of people, started New Year's resolutions a month ago or close to a month ago, and they haven't quite nailed them, so they've given up on them. And I think that's not a good philosophy in life. So it's never too late. You just have to start somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. Good stuff. All right. Well, Sean, thanks for the awesome conversation. Right now, I want to remind everyone to pre-order my book. It's called Shifting into High Gear. I hope that's okay if I just kind of take over and request that.
Go for it.
Shifting into High Gear, you can find it. Go to kyleabryant.com, and you can find the links. It's available on iTunes and Barnes & Noble. We are starting to organize a few book signings and stuff, so take a look for that. Look out for that, and I'll have all the dates and locations and stuff. So that's going to be a lot of fun.
Awesome, and don't forget, of course, we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to get you in a t-shirt or a hat, so you can visit our website, twodisableddudes.com, for lots more information, and of course the ability to dialogue with us, share some comments or some thoughts. And just to be a little self-serving, this whole thought today was inspired by a blog post I wrote just recently.
Yes.
So check it out, seanbaum.com just click on the blog, GSD blog, and it's labeled or titled More Than a Slogan. So check it out.
It's a good post.
Yeah, thanks,
I
John.
just read it a couple days ago, so yeah, it's awesome. I think everybody should check it out. Well, finally, please find us on iTunes or Google Play or wherever you get podcasts, and rate and review. It really helps us out, and we hope you get that done.
Thank you for listening to the Two Disabled Dudes podcast.
Find us online at twodisableddudes.com, and please subscribe on the iTunes. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Special thanks to our production team, Jake Tompkins and Matt LaFleur.
Until next time, keep living with urgency.